Ever wonder what happens to, like, your blood work? After the doctor's like, we're going to send this to the lab.
Yeah, it's definitely a bit of a mystery for most people.
Right, like it just disappears into this black hole of medical jargon.
Totally. But that whole process is way more fascinating than people realize.
Which is why we're doing a deep dive today into the world of medical laboratory assistants.
Exactly. These are the folks working behind the scenes, analyzing those samples that directly impact your health.
And we're using insights from RoleCatcher to help us understand what this career path really entails.
It's a fantastic resource, especially for anyone considering this kind of career.
So, full disclosure, I always kind of pictured medical laboratory assistants as like those people in lab coats surrounded by bubbling test tubes.
Well, there are definitely test tubes involved,
Yeah.
but yeah, there's a lot more to it.
Like what? Give us the inside scoop. What do they actually do all day?
So medical laboratory assistants are essential in the pre-analytical stage.
Pre-analytical.
Yeah, basically, it's everything that needs to happen to a sample before a scientist can even analyze it.
Oh, okay. So like prepping it.
Exactly. Think labeling, processing, sometimes even running basic tests.
Huh. So they're kind of like the stage managers in the lab.
Love that analogy. Because
Mm-hmm.
just like a stage manager can make or break a performance, medical laboratory assistants are crucial for accurate and timely results. And that, my friend, impacts everything from diagnosis to treatment decisions.
Wow, no pressure there.
Right. It's a huge responsibility.
Speaking of responsibility, RoleCatcher seems to take the stress out of job searching. They have this thing called RoleCatcher.capture, right?
Oh yeah, RoleCatcher.capture. It's amazing, especially if you're just starting out in your career or like switching fields.
So how does it work?
Well, imagine you're on LinkedIn. Indeed, even just browsing company websites. You see a job that piques your interest.
Okay. Yeah, and
You literally click a button to bookmark it. RoleCatcher.capture pulls all those jobs into their platform.
wait, so no more like copy and pasting everything into a million different spreadsheets.
Nope. RoleCatcher organizes everything for you. You can see all the jobs you've bookmarked, prioritize them, analyze them. It's amazing.
Okay, that alone would save me so much time. But they don't stop there, do they? They actually use, get this, AI to analyze the job descriptions.
It's wild, right? Their AI figures out what skills each employer wants, and then it scores your CV against those criteria.
Oh.
It's like having a personal career coach and a tech guru all in one.
Wow, okay. I need to get this RoleCatcher thing on my phone, like, right now.
Right. It's a game changer for sure.
But okay, let's get back to the actual work of a medical laboratory assistant. From what I've seen on RoleCatcher, it seems pretty hands-on, am I right?
Absolutely. You're dealing with biological samples, operating sophisticated equipment like analyzers, you're managing inventory, documenting everything meticulously.
So attention to detail is key here.
Totally. You're dealing with really sensitive information, precision, accuracy, safety protocols, it's all paramount. And the RoleCatcher guide outlines all of that really well.
That's good to know. And speaking of the guide, I was really impressed by how RoleCatcher breaks down the typical duties for like an entry-level medical lab assistant all the way up to a senior-level position.
Yeah, they really lay out a potential career trajectory, don't they?
They do. It's
Yeah.
super helpful, especially if you're considering this as a long-term career path.
For sure. And they even go a step further and provide real-world examples like profiles of people at different stages in their medical lab assistant careers. You can see the skills they have, the experience they've gained. It's pretty cool.
That's so valuable. But it's not all just like test tubes and data entry, right? I mean, RoleCatcher also talked about the importance of communication and teamwork. Like, you're part of a team, right?
100%.
So tell me more about that.
Yeah, you're working in a lab with other people for sure, but it's more than that.
Okay, so like who are they interacting with?
Well, you've got other lab professionals, of course, but also doctors and nurses outside the lab.
Oh, right, because they're the ones ordering the tests in the first place.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So a medical lab assistant might need to, say, clarify what's needed for a specific test, or explain the results in a way that makes sense to someone who's not a lab expert.
Makes sense. You're like the bridge between the technical stuff and the patient's actual care.
That's a great way to put it.
Yeah.
And that means being able to explain sometimes complex information clearly and professionally.
Yeah, that takes some serious communication skills.
For sure. And it's not just about talking to people outside the lab either. RoleCatcher also emphasized the importance of working under the supervision of a biomedical scientist.
Right, they mentioned that. So what does that relationship actually look like day to day?
So the biomedical scientists, they've got the deeper scientific knowledge, right?
Hmm.
They're the ones who usually design and oversee the testing procedures.
Okay, and the medical laboratory assistant, they're the ones actually carrying out those procedures.
Exactly. It's all about precision and efficiency. And depending on the assistant's experience level, they might even help the scientist with analysis or research.
Huh. So there's room to grow and learn on the job.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And you know what else RoleCatcher stressed? Continuous learning. Like, the field is always changing.
Oh, yeah, they had that whole section on technology advances and how it's impacting the work.
Exactly. Think automation, robotics. It's all about increasing efficiency, which is great. But it also means medical laboratory assistants need to be adaptable, always up for learning new skills to keep up.
Right. Because healthcare technology is definitely not standing still.
Exactly. You got to be curious. You got to want to stay ahead of the curve. That's key in this field.
So it's this interesting mix of high tech and like very human impact. You could be working with cutting edge equipment one minute and then talking to a doctor about a patient's test results the next.
You got it. It's a dynamic field, no doubt. You need that technical expertise, but also those strong people skills.
For sure. So from all your research with RoleCatcher, what would you say is the most misunderstood thing about this job?
Hmm. That's a good question. I think people often underestimate the impact these assistants actually have.
What do you mean?
Well, they're not interacting with patients directly, but their work. It's essential. Accurate diagnoses, effective treatment plans, it all hinges on the lab results.
Right. Any mistake in the lab could have huge consequences for the patient down the line.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's why precision and that commitment to quality, that's non-negotiable for a medical laboratory assistant.
And RoleCatcher really emphasized those qualities, which I thought was really interesting. And they also highlighted the teamwork aspect, which I think often gets overlooked in more technical fields.
Yeah, and that's something RoleCatcher does really well. They highlight those soft skills as much as the technical ones. Because it's not just about running a test. It's about being a good communicator, working well with your team, and being open to learning throughout your career.
Speaking of learning, I found that part about the different types of equipment super helpful, like what a medical lab assistant actually uses on the job.
Oh, definitely. You got to know your tools, right?
Yeah.
They talked about centrifuges. Those are key for separating blood components. And then there's spectrophotometers.
Spectrophotometer.
Yeah, they measure light passing through solutions to figure out the concentration of different substances.
Wow. Okay, so we're talking some serious science here.
Oh, yeah. It's high-tech stuff. And each piece of equipment has its own procedures, protocols. You got to be meticulous about following them.
Right, because accuracy is everything.
100%. It can be pretty demanding work, but it's also incredibly rewarding. Knowing you're playing a part in helping people get the healthcare they need, that's something special.
It's like all those little details, all those tests, they add up to something much bigger. It really is amazing when you think about it, like all those connections, how this one job, medical laboratory assistant, it touches so many different parts of healthcare.
It's true, and I think that's something people don't always realize.
So for someone listening who's maybe thinking, hey, this could be the career for me, what would you say is the most important thing to remember about this field based on all your deep dive research with RoleCatcher?
Honestly,
Mm.
I'd say it's the impact. It's not just about, like, running tests and analyzing data, though that's a big part of it, but it's about knowing that what you do in that lab, it directly affects people's lives.
Because those test results, they're not just numbers on a page.
Exactly. They can mean the difference between a quick diagnosis and a delayed one, between the right treatment plan and one that misses the mark. It's a big responsibility.
No doubt about it. So for anyone feeling drawn to this kind of work, RoleCatcher seems like an incredible place to start.
100%. Their guides are amazing. You get such a good overview of what the job actually entails, day-to-day tasks, career paths, everything.
And don't forget those AI-powered tools. Game changers, especially for anyone who, dreads the whole job hunting process.
Seriously, streamlining applications, prepping for interviews, RoleCatcher has really thought of everything to help you put your best foot forward.
For sure. Well, I've got to say, I learned a ton today about a career path I really didn't know that much about before.
Me too. It's been really eye-opening.
It's this fascinating blend of scientific know-how, cutting-edge tech, and that very real human element of healthcare.
Exactly.
So to our listeners, if you're looking for a career that's, intellectually stimulating, but also deeply meaningful, something where you can always be learning and growing as healthcare technology advances, well, the world of medical laboratories might just be the perfect fit.
And like we've been saying, RoleCatcher is a fantastic resource to help you explore that path. They give you the knowledge, the tools, and that boost of confidence to really go for it.
Couldn't agree more. And that's a wrap on today's deep dive. Be sure to tune in to our next episode when we'll be, as always, exploring another fascinating corner of the professional world.